So you're thinking about moving to Bellingham, Washington, and more specifically Sumas, Washington. Well, in this video, I'm going to take you inside the computer into Google Maps and show you around town to see if it might be a good fit for you. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I'm going to share with you a very interesting fact why Sumas, Washington, a town of approximately 1,600 people, owes the government of Canada over $100 million. And you're not going to want to miss it, so let's get after it right now. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about eating, sleeping, playing, and working, as well as the good and bad about living in Bellingham, Washington, and surrounding areas, then subscribe below and tap the bell icon for notifications so you can be the first to know about the current market in Bellingham, Washington, and the surrounding areas. My name is Dale Serbisek, and I'm with the Living in Bellingham, Washington team, and every day we get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you, and we love it. So whether you're thinking of moving in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. The info's in the description below, and we'll help you make that smooth move to Bellingham, Washington, or the surrounding areas. So here we are in Google Maps, and you can see the state of Washington, and as we zoom in to the Bellingham area, which of course the Whatcom County Bellingham area, Bellingham being the largest city in Whatcom County. And in relation to Bellingham, as you can see, if we go up 539, cut over here on West Badger Road, brings you into the town of Sumas, which of course is today's map tour. And the town of Sumas is right on the US-Canadian border, as you can see here. Right there, there's US Customs and Border Protection. It is a port of entry. It is one of 4 port of entries in Whatcom County. It is the easterlymost one. You can see when you cross over the border, the main town in BC is going to be Abbotsford, which is a fairly good sized town. If you do live in Sumas, you could cross over into Abbotsford. There's going to be a lot more services, a lot more facilities like movie theaters. There's a Costco. You can see right here, Walmart Supercenter. Although I would keep in mind with the US Canadian dollar exchange right now, most Canadians are coming down here to get gas because gas is so much cheaper, but their dollar doesn't go as far. So if you're going to be driving up there, you will get some better deals if you want to spend money up there, but also some of those things are priced more expensive as well. So back down in here to Sumas. Sumas, of course, I'll give you some stats really quick. Population, looking at just over 1,600 people. The median home price right now, as of the making of this video, is $424,000, which is significantly less than it is in the Bellingham area. You know, it's a good 40-minute drive, but you're going to save probably $50,000, $100,000 sometimes on the exact same house. So Sumas does offer some great values as far as real estate goes. And then the median income, household income for Sumas, you're looking at $57,000, which of course is enough money to get into the typical starter home in Sumas. Again, most of the people that do live in Sumas do not work in Sumas. I mean, there's a few businesses there, but they're mostly service type jobs, restaurants, gas stations, custom brokerages for goods being shipped in and out of Canada. So those types of jobs are not super high paying. There's a lot of agriculture, of course, in the area, a lot of raspberries, a lot of blueberries that are grown in northern Whatcom County. So there is a lot of that, but most of the people do commute into Bellingham or the other towns such as Everson, Linden, Blaine, Birch Bay, those towns as well. As far as current real estate goes, we right now have about 20 listings in Sumas, and in the last 6 months, there's been 39 properties, homes that have sold. And schools, Sumas Elementary is rated at a B+. And then Sumas also shares a middle school and a high school with some of the neighboring communities, the town of Nooksack and Everson. There's Nooksack Middle School in Everson and Nooksack High School. It's basically out in the county between Sumas and Everson. So as far as schools go, there's going to be some good options there. I have a friend who's a teacher and a coach, and great school system. He really likes it out there as well. We got Sumas Drugs. Of course, you know, it's similar to your Rite Aid or your CVS type thing. I probably used to be one. You can see here, there's some pictures of it. So if you need something, you don't have to drive all the way into Bellingham to pick up your typical prescription stuff for items. So you can see there's a full service drugstore. Also, there's a duty free, which if you aren't familiar with duty free, it basically means if you're going to be driving up to Canada, you can stop in duty free before you cross the border and pick up things like alcohol, snacks, gifts, items like that. You're not going to have to pay any taxes on it. And when you cross up into Canada, you can leave those things as gifts for people. You can drink the alcohol when you're up there. You cannot bring that alcohol back into the United States if you come back any sooner than 48 hours of being in Canada for 48 hours. So that's something you want to keep in mind. And also, as one other thing I was going to mention, there are limits to the amount of alcohol per person that you can buy. So for instance, you can go up, if you're going by yourself, you can get a bottle of wine or a liter of liquor, but don't go stocking up on 2 or 3 liters of liquor and crossing into the United States. But the main thing to keep in mind is if you're buying stuff at the duty free before you cross into Canada is don't bring it back and don't buy too much. So go up there, leave it with friends, drink it while you're up there. And the main thing also, if you're going to be out of the country, out of the United States for 48 hours, then when you're coming back into the United States from Canada, you can stop at the duty free on the Canada side and buy a similar amount of quantity to bring back into the United States. And one thing to keep in mind, Washington State has some very high liquor taxes. It's pushing 20%, I believe, for your typical liquor. So it's very nice if you do go up to Canada for 48 hours or more, because when you come back, you can get some very inexpensive alcohol as far as not having to pay big taxes on that. And of course, we've got the U.S. Customs and Border Crossing itself. And you can see here, it's a picture of what it looks like. You got, if you have never crossed, you've got various lanes that you can go. Some of them are open, some are not open, just depends on the time of day and how much traffic there is. You can't really see right behind here on this leftmost one, it's got the word US. That's short for Nexus, if you saw that whole sign. Nexus is a card that you can get if you cross over into Canada or you go back and forth quite a bit. You can apply for a Nexus card. Right now, I think it's a good 6-month to year-long wait. It's very inexpensive. It's only about $50 to get that, and it lasts for 5 years. And what it allows you is for driving across into Canada and into Mexico, it allows you to go in this designated lane, which of course less people have the Nexus card unless they're regular commuters across the border. So you're not gonna have to wait in line as long. I've seen it sometimes where I've just waited for 3 or 4 cars to get through while other lanes have an hour to 2 hour long wait. So it's definitely worth it. You're only able to get a Nexus card if you actually live in a state that borders Canada or Mexico. So if you live in Iowa or Tennessee or Utah, you're not eligible for a Nexus card, but in Washington State, if you're going to be living here, you would be. And let's see here, next we're going to go down to some restaurants. So we got El Nopal, which you can see here is on the main drag. Nice little Mexican restaurant. And this is a cool place right here. This SEMA International Motor Speedway. If you've ever raced go-karts, it is a very high-speed go-kart racetrack. I would say, obviously kids can do it. There's a lot of team building activities. You can rent these. You can do them for birthday parties. They actually have race series where people who are really competitive actually own their own go-karts, and I believe it's on Friday or Saturday nights. They go out in the summer months and they race these for series. A lot of your top race car drivers professionally got their start in go-kart racing. And when I talk about go-kart racing, these things go very fast. Some of them do. The high-speed ones, they get up to 70, 80 miles an hour. So they take that pretty serious. So a great fun activity if you're looking for some racing excitement. And then of course we have Howard Bowen Park, which also I mentioned in my Sumas vlog tour. I walk around and show you what this is, but basically it's a giant park area. You've got your typical ballparks, fields for softball, baseball. There's an off-leash dog park, play sets, swing sets. There's a small RV park over here as well. Let's see if I can bring up some pictures. You can see the kiddos playing here. Also, it has the Sumas Rodeo Grandstands, or the Sumas Bullorama that they have a couple times a year. Brings a lot of cowboys and bull riders from all over the United States and Canada as well, and we'll get to that in a second here in the video. As far as another good restaurant, Bob's Burger and Brew on the main drag here. Bob's Burger and Brew has been locally owned for probably a good 50 years plus. They have about 6 or 7 locations all over Whatcom County. They're in Bellingham, Ferndale, Blaine, and then they cross over into the next county south, Skagit County as well. Great place to get some great burgers. They kind of specialize in about 7-8 different types of burgers. Beef burgers as well as chicken burgers. So they have some great, like one of my favorite chicken burgers is their cordon bleu. And as far as their regular burgers go, I must say that I'm a little partial to the mushroom Swiss burger. So I encourage you to check that out. They've got some great food there. They've got the best potato salad too. If you're not looking at French fries as your typical side, I'd say try their potato salad. It is very, very, very good. And let's see here next. We're gonna go and check out, they've got a sushi teriyaki place. Again, if you love that sushi, yes, you can get sushi in Sumas. What do we got down here? Oh, got your typical Sumas pizzeria. So if you love pizza, another thing right on the drag there, you can get your pizza. They do actually have the Sumas Mountain Lodge as well. So if you are coming in to visit the area and check it out, you can stay at the Sumas Mountain Lodge, or friends or family as well. And then of course you've got your other little things that are on the main Cherry Street drag here. You got your coffee shop, Cafe Loca. Again, there's not a whole lot of businesses on this main street here. You can see you got City Hall, Ship Happens. That's another thing I was gonna mention, is that in a lot of these border towns, they'll have these shipping receiving places where you can, like let's say you live in Canada and you buy something on Amazon that originated in the United States. Well, to get it shipped to Canada, oftentimes it takes longer and it can be very expensive, and you have to pay customs and duty, import fees and taxes. So what a lot of Canadians that live right close to the US border, for instance in the Vancouver area, they will go down to one of these border towns like Sumas, Linden, Blaine, Birch Bay. They'll go into these companies here that allow you to basically buy a US address similar to the old post office box. And it's a receiving place. So they'll actually hold those goods that you might buy from Amazon or various places until you come down and pick them up. When you do cross back into Canada, of course, Canada is going to want you to declare these things. But if they're under certain dollar amounts or certain items, you won't have to pay any significant fees. So that's a really good option. So again, I know that doesn't really benefit you as Americans if you're looking at moving to Sumas, but I'm just going to explain that there are a lot of these types of businesses along here. And who knows, maybe if you're looking to be an entrepreneur, you could start one of those businesses yourself. So as far as Sumas, let's zoom out a little bit. I want to show you in relation to some of the other nearby things that you can do. Over here we have Silver Lake, which Silver Lake I mentioned in another video, in the Maple Falls Kendall video, is a great recreational area that you can do some fishing, motorboating, camping. They do not allow gasoline engines on Silver Lake, so it's mostly just people with rowboats or electric trolling motors. And as you can see here, when you zoom out a little bit more, down here you can see is the Nooksack Valley High School, which is basically halfway between Sumas and Nooksack Everson. These are two separate towns, Nooksack and Everson, but they're kind of considered one for the purposes of the general area. And the high school, or the middle school, is actually right down here. You can see Nooksack Valley Middle School. So if you do have kids and you live in Sumas, keep in mind that if they're elementary age, there is an elementary school. It's a brand new elementary school, really awesome, really high tech, nice facility. But as they enter middle school and high school, they're going to be heading down a little further south to the high school and to the middle school. And let's see, what else do we got here? You can see Linden to the west is another border crossing town. Linden is probably the next largest town closest to Sumas, besides, of course, if you cross the Canadian border and go up to Abbotsford. I would say you're probably not going to be doing a lot of shopping up in Abbotsford. It's more like if you want to go to the nice movie theater. They have one of those, multi-screen, big giant movie theaters. They've got some great restaurants, higher end restaurants like the Cactus Club and probably Scotty or Brown's Social House. And again, of course, if you're going to head over to Vancouver, you're looking at a little over an hour's drive. For Vancouver, BC, you're looking at 2 hours drive from Sumas to the Seattle area. And Bellingham, as I mentioned before, is about 45 minutes. Not too bad. And let's see, as we scroll out again, you see there's Ferndale and Bellingham. So anyways, now we're going to go up here and look at some specific websites. And the first one here is showing the Sumas Washington Rodeo Round Up, whatever you want to call it. Several times a year they have different events, and they've got a nice grandstand area, as you can see right here. And I highly encourage you to check it out. Here is that website I was talking about, the go-kart racing. They've got a nice little GoPro video on this kart here race, and you can see it's pretty serious. It's not like going to the fair or your little recreational go-kart track for little 2, 3, 4-year-old bumper cars. This is some serious kart racing. And again, I think you should definitely check it out. They take it pretty serious there, and they got small ones, of course, for smaller kids. You can see they have recreational karts, 4-stroke karts, 2-stroke karts. So again, they've got an option for everybody. There's a nice aerial view of the track, nice road course track. And I thought I'd just show you a few pictures of what the customs crossing looks like. I think pretty much showed it to you last time. Really, picking the right time to cross the border is the most important thing. You won't have too much trouble. Sumas, of the 4 crossings in Whatcom County, is probably the least visited, so you're not going to have to deal with quite the number of backups there, but you can always go online and check for those. Duty free, as I mentioned, you can get an idea of kind of what's in these duty free stores. Mostly alcohol, liquor, beer. I would say most people are going to be buying liquor, not beer, if they're going to be crossing over, or wine, because again, that's where you're going to save the most on taxes, because those are the items that are taxed significantly more. They've got a lot of snacks. I would say it's just kind of like your typical convenience store. And the prices are pretty good, so I'd encourage you to check that out if you're crossing over. Even if you don't end up buying anything, it's kind of fun to see what's in there. And yeah, so there you have it. Hope you've enjoyed this map tour of the Sumas Washington area. And like I said, I think that it's a great place to live. It doesn't feel too far away from the main Bellingham area, but it does definitely give you that sense that you're out and about and away from the community. So. All right, for sticking around to the end of this video, I'm going to share with you the little known fact of why Sumas, Washington, the town of approximately 1,600 people, owes the government of Canada over $100 million. Well, as a lot of you might already be aware, in 1846, the United States and Canada signed something called the Oregon Treaty, and it basically said that anything north of the 49th latitude parallel would be part of Canada, and everything below the 49th parallel latitude would be the United States. Well, as you can imagine, back in 1846, the Rocky Mountains, the Pacific Northwest Territories, all that was very inhospitable, uninhabitable. There weren't interstates, there weren't roads, there was no modern technologies. So the surveying crews, they had several surveying crews, would go out and they'd come up with conflicting information on where exactly the 49th parallel was. So oftentimes what they would do is they would just split the difference and call it good. And that seemed to be okay for quite a number of years. Well, until recently with modern technology, they have actually discovered that they didn't actually find exactly where the 49th parallel was in certain areas. And so parts of inhabitants, towns, cities along the US side at the northern border are actually above the 49th parallel, and Sumas is one of those towns. They also found over in other areas a little further east in the United States that the reverse is true. There are some towns right on the border in Canada that are actually on the US side. They're south of the 49th parallel. But the difference is that in Sumas, close to the west coast, the value of land is significantly more just across the border in Canada. There's a town called Abbotsford, and property values are pretty much double what the property value of that same type of property would be just south of the border in Sumas, because it's not as valuable on the US side. So that creates a little bit of a problem. But with all of this being said, there's no plans for the Canadian government and the US government to try and fix this or to try and sell property back and forth. It's just kind of an interesting fact. And as actually stated back in 2001 in the news, that the mayor of Sumas actually said that there would be no love lost if it went back to Canada. He wouldn't care. He's a dual citizen like many of the residents along the border towns. Being U.S. citizens, it doesn't really matter to them because they consider it all the same anyway. So hopefully you enjoyed that little tidbit. And if you are thinking about moving to the Bellingham, Washington area, Whatcom County, anywhere of those towns around there, Ferndale, Sumas, Linden, you name it, feel free to give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. I'd be happy to help you make that smooth move to the Bellingham, Washington, or surrounding areas. Hope to see you around town.